welcome to QA at the Point's first meetup for 2022. My name is Carlos Kidman, and I'm the founder of QAP. Now, I gotta admit that we messed up the recording a little bit, so I'm gonna do this little intro piece, and then I'll let it resume where it starts off in the actual Zoom recording. We wanted to start the year off right by talking about what QAP is going to be doing for the community in 2022. We want to use all of Vin Diesel's energy and make it more faster and more furiouser. We'll start by talking about the QAP mission as well as one of the principles that we have, and then each committee is going to take a turn and talk about what they do and their objectives and goals for 2022. And then I have a pretty cool reveal at the end for something that I think is going to be very, very powerful and very valuable for the community as well. So with that said, the mission, the single most important thing for QA at the Point. Like, what were we trying to do? When I first started this thing years ago, what was the point? We wanted to get back to that. And in my mind, it was really just help testers succeed. Like that was really it. At the time, I didn't have a community here in Utah that I enjoyed, that I really liked. And I wanted to be something that was helpful for me, but also I was excited and I loved testing. I loved software quality as well. And I wanted people to be able to have a place where they fit in, have a place where they could meet other people that liked it just as much as I did, and have a community and learn from each other and share with each other and network with each other, all that good stuff. So ultimately, in 3 words, help testers succeed. Now, one of the principles that we have is for the community, by the community. This was not something that I wanted to do on my own. So I think from here is where I'll keep talking about this, but I really want this to be community driven. So thanks for watching the beginning here, and we'll let you resume with the rest of the Zoom meeting. I didn't want it to be something that was just coming from me all the time, or like only my perspective, because I'll be the first person to tell you that I don't feel like I know everything. I definitely don't. I have mentors myself. And so I wanted to learn from others that were much better than I was, that have way more experience than I do. And so I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to always be presenting and always be doing classes. I'm running out of content, I need help. So I'm hoping that this year in 2022, we can get back to this principle of the community. It's a community driven thing where we're all trying to help testers succeed. So with that said, I will turn the time over to the monthly meetup committee.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to our monthly meetup. It's fantastic to have the support that we've had, and I think this right here, this slide shows just what an awesome year it was in 2021 for the monthly meetup. I know that the other committees are going to talk about how awesome their committees are and all the great things that they did, but I'm going to say something that I've said before, and that is we've kind of been blessed by COVID, by allowing us to have all of this variety come to us from, we had Finland, we had Florida, we had Utah, we had India, we had, Jamaica. So we had people from just all over the place that were able to share their thoughts on testing. And of course, hopefully everyone was able to participate. We do have a lot of recordings on our YouTube channel, so I'll put a plug in for the YouTube channel, and great topics. And with that, let's go to the next slide. We are moving to in-person this year, and before everybody panics, PDQ has a very sweet setup, and they are here in Utah, obviously. So we will be meeting up in person, and it's in downtown Salt Lake. You can see a couple of the pictures here. They've got a really sweet setup. So if you're looking for a job, highly recommend that you check them out, if for nothing else, just for their sweet building. They appear to be an awesome company as well. I've been working with a couple of them over at PDQ to set this up so that we could go in person. But really important for us was the virtual part. And we have created a worldwide meetup. And with that, we need a way to stream. And so that was an important part of this venue. They have a really cool, you can see through that picture there on the back projector that they have a setup so that we can continue to use Zoom, and we'll be able to record the meetings. And they even have, I've been told, I haven't seen it yet, but they have like this cool little ball microphone that they can throw into the audience. And that way, those that are on the Zoom, the virtual meeting, can also hear questions from the audience. And so we'll be able to get audience participation from those that are there. And of course, we'll do our best to make everybody feel like they're in person. And we would love feedback. And so if you have feedback on how these meetings go virtually and in person, we would love to hear that. So what are we going to do this year? If we could jump to that next slide. The biggest thing is by the community for the community. And we are looking for all the feedback that we can get so that we can help you as testers. How can we help you further your career? What topics are you struggling with? What areas would you like to hear about just because you're curious about some new technique or some new tool that you've heard about in the wild? Maybe you've attended a conference and they brought up some new topics. So we would love to hear who you'd like to hear from. And again, we're not going to limit it to Utah. If you can think of a speaker that you'd like to hear from anywhere in the world, we will see what we can do and get them to participate. And again, Zoom is working for us. And so we'll have people present from anywhere in the world. And those that are able to meet in person will have free drinks and free food. And everyone else will have to fend for yourself, but we'll all participate in hearing the same speakers. I did kind of sort of forget about that. There will be free drinks and free food brought to us by PDQ at each of the in-person meetups. Okay, so please, if you have ideas, speakers, and topic suggestions. In addition, one of the things that you can really help us with is our social media team will be speaking to you in just a minute, but they do a lot of posts. And the best thing you can do is just like it. And I know I sound like now I'm a YouTuber or something. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. Apparently I've been watching too much YouTube lately. But if you could just like those posts so that people can see that we're meeting. This is an example of our social media committee wasn't given a lot of notice before this meetup. And so I don't think we were able to get the word out, and it's not their fault. It's all Kevin's fault. So blame me, but we need to do a better job of liking those and sharing those social media posts. In addition, we have the Slack channel, and I'm promoting right now the QA at the Point a hashtag channel. So we ask a lot of questions in general. We try to give updates on who will be speaking, when they'll be speaking, when the YouTube videos are available. And we would love the participation in those Slack channels. And I'm not asking you to be a social media junkie. That's not the point. It's just that we see a lot of value, and that's where we're able to share that value through Slack and through our social media, the things that we're learning and the things that we're doing. So please, if you, and there's more to come, but please, if you would participate, that's a way, and you could do it at any hour of the day, from anywhere in the world, from any device, probably. I don't know, but I assume from just about any device. So we would appreciate that. And then one last thing you can do to help, Carlos, next slide. I know it was my first bullet point, but the final thing is we do have one spot open on the monthly meetup committee. It is not a huge commitment. The biggest thing that we're looking for is people with ideas. And if you're like, hey, I've got all these great ideas, but I don't know how to implement them, we don't care. Join our committee and we'll figure out how to make it happen. And that probably will apply to all of the other committees. I'm sure they're going to say something similar. So if you just want to get involved and you want to participate and you've only got, 30, 45 minutes a week, a month, please let us know. And if you're like, hey, I could help this month, let us know. And you don't have to join the committee and be on there forever. You can just help us out when you're available. All right, so that's a sneak peek and request for help from the monthly meetup committee, and lots more to come as we set up our speakers and we get to move to in-person at PDQ. Thank you.
Awesome. And I want to add one last thing. Just if you join one of these committees that looks really good on your resume, just going to throw that out there. So just think about that, chew on that a little bit.
You know,
All right,
that's Carlos, it's funny that you say that because people are like, yeah, right, whatever. It's just QA at the P, you know, at the point, whatever. It's not true. When I was interviewing people as testers, one of my biggest questions was actually, who are you following on social media and how are you learning? And I didn't care who it was. It's just showing that you're active in the community and active in testing and learning. I don't actually care. You could say, oh, I follow designers. And I'm like, that's amazing. What are you learning from the designers that you're following? Or I follow developers. Great. So anyway, yes, you're absolutely right. And being on the committee does help your resume.
Could I interject?
Sure.
So I just discovered this about a week ago. I had a friend that works at Lucid who invited me into the Slack channel. And I was a bit nervous at first. Like I wasn't sure exactly what you guys were all about. And so I just threw a little bit about me, my experience, and how I don't have any. Nothing professional at least. And from that, I just had 2 interviews today. And it's not like just a 2-minute, like the 10-minute interview. I had like a legit like 3-hour interview because a manager reached out to me and they liked what I saw. So I, in a sense, was able to bypass. I will just call it the BS system of, you know, your resume didn't contain the special word we were looking for. So whatever, like we're talking managers who could actually look at my qualifications, but like, actually, you do seem like someone I would like to interview for this position. So apply for it and we'll make sure we get you in. So you guys have already helped me out like more than I think any community really has ever helped me in my entire life. And so it's hey, thank you, Jamie, especially. Jamie's been helping me a lot here. Anyway, so my heart goes out to you guys. I'm looking forward to contributing and figuring out how to be useful to maybe someone else like how you've been for me.
You're awesome, Michael. Well, congrats. That's amazing. And I mean, it's exactly what we're trying to do, right? It's just help testers succeed in whatever way we can. So I'm glad it's working out for you and how quickly it worked out for you. So that's good. That's exciting. All right, moving on to the next one here, the career prep committee.
So my name's Jamie. I'm over our career prep committee. I didn't leave a fancy spot for it, but I would totally take more volunteers if anyone wants to help. And then going to my next slide, what the career prep committee is here for is really just to help our community excel, to help you guys really like jumpstart things, get the ball rolling there. And our big goal for 2022 is just to help everyone like level up a little bit. And especially for people who are new to QA or people who are looking for new opportunities, whether that means a promotion or you're looking for like a new company to work with, we want to help you reach those goals. In Slack, we also have a channel where we can offer like tips and support on anything career related, whether that's like resume reviews or like advice on difficult situations at work, how to handle those tactfully. We're here to help with whatever you guys need. And then we're also excited. We're going to try and start offering resume and interview workshops. We want to do those in person, so we don't have a date set just yet, but they should be really awesome, like a good way to level up your resume, make sure everything looks good, because so many companies will use like the applicant tracking software to just throw out 80% of their resumes right out of the gate. And so yours really kind of has to stand out and have all those keywords, everything like that, to even get a person to look at it if you don't have like a referral for that company. We're also, like, our main area we want to focus on is like the ability to help individuals, to help you guys identify career paths you're interested in. and to like learn to set goals that are achievable and manageable to help you reach your career goals. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Sorry, guys.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is I think it's. I wish I had this. I wish I had this when I was starting out, because I didn't know how to prep for the interview that I had my first time in, and so I kind of just went in there and winged it, and luckily I got it. But I can only imagine how for other for other places, especially bigger companies, how intimidating it is to go into something like that. Or if I get laid off, I'm there to fend for myself, and so having a support system, of a community to help me out with these kind of things, I think is super valuable. So thank you, Jamie. We're excited for it. All right, next up, we have the weekly classes committee.
Yes, we have the biggest community, and I want to grow it. Partly because this is one of those committees where there's a lot of time commitment. Part of it is because we are offering training, whether you want to be part of the committee and teach other people, or if you just want to help find other people to come in and train, to give us training. The weekly classes, the main goal is literally to just learn. This is where you can ask questions. I don't think any questions always is stupid. Uh, there's always questions that are complex, and we can dive deeper into those. Um, but we need ideas. I can teach a lot. I've been in the QA industry for 23 years. Maybe some of you on the call is even younger than that. So I've been in the industry longer than you've been alive. That's kind of sad, but so I have a lot of things that I understand and a lot of stuff that I can teach, but I want to see what other people's perspective is. That's where the conversation comes in as we're talking about these topics, teaching these topics. So if you look at the chart here, we have two from Lucid, Kim and Jeff. They head up more of the manual testing side. And then we also have Bill, Daniel, and Cody, who head up more of the automation training side. I do both of them, more towards the automation side, but I also like to tackle complex topics. One of the topics that I'm learning about right now, and I'll probably present it later on towards the end of the year, is event-driven architecture. How do you test event-driven architecture through an automated process that is more than just unit testing? So a lot of complexities in that setup. Carlos, you want to go to the next slide? So what's going on? Well, in February, we're going to talk about API testing. For the manual testing side, they're going to have a discussion on bug triage and prioritization. That is happening next Thursday, February 3rd. And then for the rest of the month, I still have to figure out who's going to be giving the training, but we're going to try to plan for API testing. We'll probably go over some manual testing of APIs, how to identify APIs, how to use tools to help along. And that leads into the March discussion, which is performance testing. I think my goal right now for March, I'll be leading that initiative out to teach you guys how to do your load testing. We're going to set up an Express server with your own personal endpoint, and we're going to DDoS attack it with an artillery tool, and then we're going to have create a dashboard that can monitor your metrics for your performance, so you can impress your managers and your directors and your VPs about all the cool stuff that you're coming up with. The plan is for April is mobile testing, and for the future topics, after that, we want this to be community driven. If we don't get any feedback from the community, then it's kind of hard to come up with specific things that you want to discuss and you want to learn. And sometimes if you want to learn a specific topic, I might just reach out to you to teach it too, because I think the best way to teach or the best way to learn is to teach yourself, because then you get to have Carlos and I and Kevin throw wrenches at you during the meeting and make your presentation a little bit harder. Bill Witt can attest to that. and same with Daniel. We gave him a lot more challenging questions during their live session, but it made us, I think it made, at least for Daniel, he said it made me think a lot more different scenarios, especially as a QA, about what to do, because when I'm writing my material and writing my tests, um, I only think about what I can think of, and when other people start throwing stuff at it, it just makes us that much better. So hopefully we get a lot of participation. We'll reach out on the Slack channels. There's two Slack channels. One's a manual testers and one Autobots. Pay attention to those. We'll post the classes. You're free to welcome to join any one of them. Um, and we don't care if you're a junior person. Michael, love to hear what you're learning about and learn about your struggles, because that's something that as a senior person that for me, when because I'm in the industry for so long, I don't know what people are struggling with. A lot of times I'm like, why don't you know that? Well, because you haven't been presented that. For me, one of the topics that a lot of people ask me about is in regards to performance testing. I ask them, what about load balancing? What about packet switching? What about caching? Most people don't think about those, but that's where some of these good discussions come out of. So I hope we see a lot of new faces there, and I hope to see a lot of good information to share. Back to you, Carlos.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I like to say that the monthly meetup is for us to it's the big event, the main event. We get together, we talk about big topics, theory, thought leadership kind of a thing, case studies, and then the weekly classes are, this is hands-on. Let's do stuff. So having both of them, I think, is really nice to have. So, oh man, that marshmallow looks really cool too. I'm definitely going. All right, thank you, Matt. Moving on here, we now have the social media committee.
I'm Pax. I'm the lead of the social media committee, and Jamie was on this last year and then she took over careers, and I'm so happy for her, but also bitter. So if someone wants to help replace Jamie, let me know. Yeah, so Vern and I are working on it again this year, and if you want to go to the next slide. A lot happened last year. We were able to increase followers, posts, schedule things out, figure out what was working, what kind of content was good, and even realized that like really no one uses Facebook anymore. So we kind of gave up on that, and that was nice to have one less thing to maintain. We're hoping to do even more this year, but obviously we want help doing that so that it's not all falling on one or two people. And like Kevin had mentioned, a big part of what we do is bringing awareness to what we have to offer here at QA The Point, and with trying to be the place to go to for QA professionals and wanting to be the place even outside of Utah. Getting awareness and spreading the word is really important. So that's something we really want to focus on. And if you can help us do that, that would be great. The liking, the sharing, all of that on social media is incredibly helpful, and especially LinkedIn. That has grown really, really quickly in the past year. So it's a great place to be able to talk about it and spark conversations. And we have a QA at the Point LinkedIn page. So if you follow that, you can also see when we're posting and share from there. That's it.
Awesome, awesome, right on. All right, I think last up is the finance committee.
Hi guys, so my name is David Herrera. I'm the lead and right now the sole member of the finance committee. We're hoping to change that, soon. I think I speak for everyone, like COVID changed everything, and especially running a meetup and then financing it, it changed as well. So I would say that in 2022, what I need help with, and if any of you are out there thinking that you have creative ways to help come up with funds to do all this, please reach out to me, to Carlos, to anyone in the leadership, even just at general. Someone will point you to me. We are a nonprofit, and we are trying to fund more fun things for you guys, and more activities, and more learning. And not to give anything away from Carlos' presentation, there is something really cool that we want to bring up, but a lot of that takes money to support. And some of us are spending that money out of pocket, on our own, just because we believe in you guys, we believe in the community as a whole. Yeah, I think that summarizes what I needed to say. My invitation is just, if you have ideas of coming up with funds for that in this new normal that we have, I'm gonna say it right. We may have more of these like virtual meetings. We may have more in-person meetings, depending on what the pandemic does. So any ideas are good ideas for coming up with finances for that. Other than that, that's it for me.
Awesome, thank you, David. And especially if your company that you work for would like to sponsor, whether the venue whether the venue or swag or prizes or anything like that as well, that also works. So any ideas you have, like David says, please reach out. Okay, whew. We got there. Lots of exciting things. I hope it's exciting for you, because I get pumped up, because it's from where it started, years ago, to where it is now. It just feels like a bit very formal. Feels very like an engine kind of humming, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I couldn't have done it without the awesome people on the leadership team. So thank you for your help. So I wanted to do a big reveal as to what we were going to be launching here in 2022. And I talked about it in Slack a little bit. I just asked the question of the day. I said, what if we had an open source knowledge base for like all things QA, all things testing, that anyone could contribute to, that we could use as a source of truth? What if? And we had a few people reach out, say, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I think that'd be great. And I said, well, that's good enough, because I was going to do it anyway. And so we have it now. If you actually go to base.qap.dev, you will hit the website. And it's, not like the grandest of websites. Thank you. It's not the grandest of websites, but this is the beginning of our knowledge base. So I want to kind of go over this a little bit for what's going to be included, what are the different pieces within it, and how you can contribute and leverage this resource. So you have the website, base.qap.dev. The repo is this one right here, github.com/QA@thepoint. When you go there, you'll see a view that looks kind of like this one here, the screenshot. And we're going to be filling this thing with a ton of repositories. So for example, the weekly classes, when we make content, when we make projects, when we do the artillery stuff for performance testing, for mobile testing, we're going to be putting all of the repos inside of here. So you'll be able to access all of them. It'll all be open source and available to you, so you can reference whenever you'd like to. And this one here, the base repo, that's like the base of the knowledge base, base squared. So that's the main one that you probably want to, like, I guess, bookmark or something. So getting to it, the base repo, it's got a bunch of stuff. So instead of showing slides, might as well show the good stuff, right? Let's go into it. So this is the main website, base.qap.dev. And what I wanted was we have this like blog section, but this is just meant to have articles. So like, for example, here I have one for how to make a post on this. If you want to contribute to it, here's how you can make a post. If you want to work with QAP's GitHub, here's how you do so, right? And it will look very much like a blog post, but it's just meant to be an article. And so this is one way that you can contribute, is if you want to post something in kind of like a blog post article kind of format, you totally can. And you can either just submit something like a markdown file to one of us and we can get it going, or if you'd like to kind of flex your open source chops, you're more than welcome to actually clone the repo down and make a pull request with whatever you want to contribute as well. So for anyone looking to, how can I build my portfolio? How can I contribute to open source? Yo, this is the way. On the About page, there's a few people that have been asking for things like the Slack or the Meetups and whatnot. We have our information right here. I'll probably add a few more things just based off of some of the questions I've been receiving. But we'll put a lot of information in here that you can also reference as well. Now, going to the style guide here. This is a visual style guide. So if you do want to contribute an article, you can see what the markdown will eventually render to and look like. So you'll have a guide that you can use. And then lastly, well, Let me go back one more time. There is a search functionality. You can actually type stuff in here, and wherever we have it, we're going to have stuff in here that you can reference. So it's easy to find, easy to search for. Okay, so that's the last thing here. Pat. Now the wiki. So the wiki is going to be inside of this QAP at the point base. The wiki is really for anything else that is like templates. For example, if someone wanted a dictionary. So if we look here on the right-hand side, I have a dictionary that we're starting, and clicking in here, we have different terms for things, and we're going to continue adding to it. So I just put a few that I was like, oh, this is top of mind right now, so might as well go for it. So I added things like continuous delivery and some resources for that, continuous deployment, continuous integration, DevOps, and then links to supporting articles and things where I maybe got some of these definitions. And we're just going to keep adding to this. Again, anyone can contribute to this. So with that said, it's like, well, what do I do? I have to make up stuff on the fly? No. On the issues tab, you can post anything that you would like for someone to do. So for example, I added 5 in here. I said this one was mainly from Vern. Vern's here. Shout out to Vern. He asked, what are some questions to ask your interviewer? Well, that would be a great article, or maybe that's a wiki, right? And I think this is one that would be a good first issue as well. So take this one, and someone in the community can grab this and contribute to it and say, okay, this has been marked done, and notify the people that requested it. What are some career path choices? How do you do test case management with TestRail? How do I land my first job as a tester? What about bug reporting best practices? Is there a template that we should use? Anything like that, you can submit any issue, or this is basically a request, any request, and we will see it in here, and we can, as a leadership team or a team of maintainers, hopefully it gets to that, we can see what we can do to help out, and maybe find people in the community that like, hey, you just barely talked about this. We have a request for someone to write an article on this. Let me help you out to make the article. And so that you can see that this is going to continue growing as people keep requesting things, as we keep adding things, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. Moving on, we have the discussions board. The nice thing about discussions board, for anyone that's used GitHub's discussions before, is that you're able to tie like everything that we're talking about, the wiki, the discussions, the issues, the code, you're able to tie it all together with these discussions and then have a history for it. Right now, our Slack group is on the free account, and so it doesn't last forever. Things will eventually go away. Where the discussions here, these are permanent. And so we can have, people can ask questions, for example, and we can answer them in here. Where an issue, you wouldn't really ask a question in here. These are more like requests or bugs and things. If you had a question for the community, either post it in Slack or you could post it on here as well. So yeah, there's a lot of awesome stuff. So I would love to open it up for anyone that has any questions while I have this open. So does anyone have questions about the open source knowledge base? What to do, how to use it, anything like that?
So the issues section at the base, that's just people posting their questions essentially, or needs or concerns, just topics they're interested in.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yep. So you might be facing something and you're like, well, I want to be able to, how do I grab or query S3? Try to find your answer and stuff. You're more than welcome to add that in here as well. And one of us will create an article for it. If you find out yourself, then you go, I answered my own question, and then you can write the article for it.
So I've a little bit about me. I've come from a boot camp, web dev kind of stuff. And so one of the most valuable skills I learned while there was just the ability to learn how to learn. I don't know if you guys address anything like that here, but that would definitely be a good topic of discussion if you haven't already.
Yeah, and right now, at least in here, we don't. So I think that's something that if you wanted to put that in the discussions or as a request, I'd say put that in there and say, here's what I'm looking for. So when I say that I would love to learn how to learn, here's some ideas, here's some things I'm looking for in an article about this. And then either you are more than welcome to write about it, or you can just leave it in there and we'll have one of the maintainers work on getting it created.
Yeah, just like a bunch of quick tips of like, this is my process of when I run into a roadblock kind of thing. Of these are my just base I don't even know what word to use here, just my process for how I get past this roadblock. And if you can't get past this roadblock, what's the protocol for that, kind of just for a more efficient way to work, I guess?
Yeah, 100%. So you might have one that's like, how do you overcome imposter syndrome? And there might be someone who initially creates the post, but it's totally okay for people to contribute to that too, and say, oh, this person, this is how they overcame it. And then in the same article, this person is now adding to it. Here's how I overcame it. And now we have this like this living document of different stories and different perspectives and experiences for how they did it. And to me, that's something that's super valuable, that when someone asks that question, because it gets asked at least once a month, how do I overcome this? We can point to that and say, here's a history of people that have overcome this and what they've tried. And that might be helpful or insightful for you. So that's the whole point, is each one of these is a living document that we can continue adding and iterating and contributing to. And it'll just grow and grow and become a really valuable resource for everyone in the community.
So does adding to posts or contributing, that's just submitting a pull request, right? I don't see any like commenting functionality.
So commenting as in, because like it's, so you
have
have
the blog posts.
Oh, blog post.
Oh yeah. So I would like, if you wanted to talk about the blog post, I would do a discussion and just link the blog post.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting those confused then. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the discussions where we can have like questions and stuff. And so like if someone posts an article and you wanted to like talk about it, you know, we could create a discussion for it. And it might be worth just like, we could, whenever a new article is created, just auto create a discussion for it. Like that could be something we do, you know, just so there's always a space for every article. Because I'm sure that usually what happens in open source projects is in the discussions tab, people are going back and forth talking about things, and then ultimately you're able to turn discussions or pieces of discussions into issues or requests and say, oh yeah, we didn't think about that, but this person brought it up in the discussion. Let me add a request for it so then we can get to it and get that changed or get that added, something like that. So they all kind of work together. It's pretty nice. Awesome, awesome. Someone asked about sponsoring, by the way. If you click this button, there's some options there to do so. But I mean, otherwise, this is basically it. As we add more repos and stuff for different projects, examples, some people wanted like, could we have a website for testing purposes? Could we have an API service that we can spin up locally to test against it? Like all of these kinds of things we're going to be creating. And so it might be something where we create an article along with the new repo to say, here's how you use this new API repo and kind of announce it. And now you have that new repo, everyone has access to it. So yeah, so all you really need is a GitHub account, which is completely free. If you don't have one, I think you can still, I'm not sure what you're like restricted to in here. For the website, you're not restricted at all. Like if you go to base.qap.dev, anyone can access that. But if you're wanting to like submit pull requests or add something to the wiki, or I think you have to have a GitHub account for that, but it's free. And once you add it, then just reach out to me on Slack and say, hey, I would love to join the organization, the QAP organization. I can add you and you can go to town. Bada bing, bada boom. Right.
I have another question.
Yes, yes.
I guess we're going to issues, for example, such as kind of free game, like you actually, you know, try to keep it relevant, obviously, but is there any kind of channel of communication you need to go through first, just to kind of, I guess, approve it, make sure it represents the community properly, not like, you know, that sort of thing, just kind of PR stuff, not pull requests, but public relations.
Yeah, so usually when someone creates something new, like this one doesn't have any labels or anything on it, this will be one that people will usually review. Like they won't just be like, oh, blindly implement it. So there will be a discussion inside of here. If like there's more things that we need, we can have a conversation in here about what you're looking for. So I may have other questions like, are you also looking for this? You know, what or whatnot. But we can have a conversation in here until we go, okay, we understand what we're looking for, and then get whatever you want created, get it created.
Yeah, sorry, that was me. I just was testing it out to see what I could do.
Heyo.
Hey,
I didn't even notice.
I just have a comment, Carlos, and maybe the training committee. this would be a cool topic to just cover in a training, maybe 5 minutes, just so that people know that it's there and how to use it.
Yeah, I think having like here's how you work with the QAP knowledge base, right? Basically, how do you work with GitHub and open source stuff? Because that's what it is ultimately. Is you're like, how do you make pull requests? How do you make sure you're not just trying to deploy the main and getting errors all the time? So there's good things in there. I think it's a really good idea, David. All right. Any last questions before I move on from this? All right. Okay. So the more furiouser. Does it feel furiouser yet? I sure hope so. So with all that said, let's recap real quick. How will QAP help testers succeed in 2022? Well, we got our monthly meetups, as you saw. It's the main event. There's recruiters, there's presenters. Again, it's the big one, the big kahuna. And here's some links here to, in case you're wondering, how do I get there or where are the links to it? Boom, there they are for the meetup, the monthly meetup. Next up, we have the weekly classes, as you saw. These are the hands-on workshops with practical examples, things that you can take away and apply immediately at work the next day. And here's links to that. Notice how it's the same meetup link, by the way. We have our Slack group. If you went to base.qap.dev, you saw at the footer, there was a little join Slack. And I think Jamie or Pax also posted a link for Slack as well inside the chat. But there's tons and tons of channels in there that will help you out, like with the Autobot stuff, just general, if you just want to post something. Michael already took advantage of that, and boom, he got an opportunity because of it. So there's so many resources just within these 3 pieces to help you succeed. And lastly, of course, the new knowledge base. So with all this said, I'll leave you here for a second in case you want to take a screenshot or something. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So there's lots of places for you to be able to learn from or contribute to. And so when I talk about for the community, by the community, I hope you can see that there are multiple avenues for you to be able to contribute, be able to help out. And if we've helped in any way, if you could just take some time to give back to the community, that would be so greatly appreciated. Because you've seen every presenter that we had today, the time commitment, the energy commitment they put into it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and they're doing it completely for free. So if the community helps out and helps to raise this tide, I think we can make some pretty awesome waves and help a lot of people out. So there you go. That's it, everybody. I'll leave the slide open and take any last remaining questions from y'all. All right, everybody. But that's it. If you want to hang out after and keep talking, you totally can. If not, thank you for joining us for QAP. It's going to be a fantastic year, as you can see. We have the weekly classes starting next week, and then our next monthly meetup is next month as well. So thanks again. Have yourselves a quality day.